Good morning. Now, today we are going to start our new chapter, which is Module 1. Module 3 is already over. So, from today onwards, we will start classes on Module 1, which is about concepts and developments of physics. So, this is the class 1. So, in that, uh, there are a few topics that you have to read through the text, because these things I will not be presenting in the class because there is nothing much to teach in this. This is just for reading. The one is an introduction to development of physics, then early days development of mechanics and thermodynamics, then advances in electricity, magnetism and thermodynamics, then about birth of modern physics, then relativity and quantum mechanics, particles, energy, and contemporary physics. All these are certain general topics that they have given in the text as an introduction. So these things you can just read through the textbook. A copy of which is I have uploaded in SNMC Virtual. So please read through these sections. Now, what is important in this chapter is the discussion about the early life and contributions of some of the major scientists in the field of science, about which you have already written assignments. So, uh, there will be a sure question from this chapter, and that is, you will be asked to write about the early life and contributions of any one of any five scientists. Okay, sometimes they will specify the names of those scientists about which you have to write. Sometimes they will just say, discuss in detail about the early life and contributions of any of the five scientists or six scientists, like that. Okay, sometimes they will specify the name of the scientist about which you have to write. So that is a very, very sure question. I mean, an essay question from this chapter. So, in almost all question papers, they have asked this question. So, what is important in this module is the uh, uh, portions dealing with the life and contributions of scientists. So, because that is a sure question. So, when you learn about, I will present uh, about two scientists in each class. So, I think if you want, you can make a note, or you can prepare a note of yourself. But while preparing, you must keep in mind it should not be like the assignment that you have written. You must write it in a little bit detailed manner, because the question will be an essay. Okay, so you must understand each and every points, and then you have to explain those points. Okay, so when you write when you write about each of the scientists, make sure that it is worth for an essay. Okay, so you must write it in a detailed way, or in the type of an essay, so while you are preparing notes. Okay, because this is a sure question. So today we will learn about two scientists. One is Galileo Galilei, and the other one will be Isaac Newton. Okay, now here there is nothing much to teach. We can just read through it. I have included the points here. So Galileo Galilei is an Italian physicist and astronomer, and known as father of modern science. He has made a lot of contributions in mathematics, physics, and astronomy, and he's a key figure in scientific revolution in 16th and 17th centuries. And his discoveries with telescope revolutionized the field of astronomy. Okay, then here they have discussed about the improved telescope that Galileo has uh, contributed, and that is actually it was not Galileo who invented telescope. He made some modifications to the existing telescope. That is, he had learned to grind lenses, and he has created a telescope with a high magnifying power. And he has made some powerful telescopes. That I mean, he have made relevant modifications to the existing telescopes. Then he have observed the uneven craters on the surface of moon. Then he discovered about Jupiter's four largest satellites, and he observed dark spots on the surface of sun, and he called it as sunspots. He discovered about the various phases of Venus. Then he concluded that the surface of moon was rough and uneven, just like the surface of earth. Then the telescope that he has revealed, the telescope that he has, the modified telescope uh, of Galileo revealed that universe contained many more stars which are still not visible to the naked eye. So these points you can include. Next is about his contributions to heliocentric theory. That is, in the early days, Aristotle proposed that Earth was the center of solar system and Sun was orbiting around it. That is called geocentric model. But later, Galileo and other scientists discredited this theory and they proposed heliocentric theory. Heliocentric theory means Sun was the center of solar system and Earth and any other planets was orbiting around it. So Galileo supported heliocentric theory. Then using, I have already told that he has made some modifications to the existing telescope, and using that refracting telescope that he has designed, he has discovered three of Jupiter's four largest moons. Then he observed that moons appearing and disappearing periodically. That is, moon have a tendency of appearing and disappearing periodically. And just like the phases of moon, he observed that Venus also possessed a set of phases similar to the moon, and this was in agreement with heliocentric model of solar system. Why? Because all phases of Venus will be visible only if it orbited the sun from a distance closer than Earth. So next is his contributions to another theory, that is the law of falling bodies. This law states that all objects will fall at equal rate when accounting for relatively minor aerodynamic and weather conditions. That is, in order to demonstrate this theory, he climbed up to the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa and he dropped stones from there and many other things of various weight. And he observed that all these items that he dropped hit the ground at the same time. And this was against Aristotle's theory, which said that heavy objects fall faster than lighter ones. Okay, so all objects reach the ground at the same time. That was the law of falling bodies that Galileo has proposed. Next is the principle of pendulum. He noticed that a lamp swinging overhead took exactly the same period of time for each swing. That is, the period taken for each swing was the same, even though there was a slight decrease in amplitude. And he postulated this as an isochronism of the pendulum, which means that the period of swing of pendulum is independent of amplitude. That is called the arc of swing. That is, um, this time period taken for each swing is the same and it is independent of amplitude. Okay, that was his discovery. Then he also contributed to the concept of inertia. Inertia, you know that a body which is at rest will remain in its state of rest, or a body which is in motion along a straight line will remain in its state of motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. So that was the concept of inertia, and that was proposed by Galileo. Later, that concept of inertia laid the foundation for Newton's first law of motion. Next is velocity of light. In the early days, it was believed that speed of light was infinite. But later, Galileo, he put forward an experiment to measure the speed of light, and he revealed that light travels very fast, but its speed is finite and measurable. So that is, Galileo proposed that even though light travels very fast, its speed is not infinite. That is, its speed is finite and measurable. Okay, so Galileo has made reasonable contributions in the field of mathematics, physics, and astronomy, and he has written some of the books described here. Okay, so these are the points that you have to include while you are writing about Galileo, that is his contributions to velocity of light, inertia, principle of pendulum, law of falling bodies, then heliocentric theory, and his telescope, etc. Okay, all these points you have to include, and all these points has to be explained, okay, in the form of an essay. Next, we will learn about Isaac Newton, about whom you are all quite familiar. He was born in England, and at the age of 27 he was appointed as professor of mathematics at Cambridge University. He has made reasonable contributions to mathematics, and he was a key figure in scientific revolution, and he has a book written. His book was named Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, and that book actually laid the foundations to classical mechanics, and all his discoveries gave a deeper understanding of nature, and gave physics a firm physical and mathematical foundation. So all his discoveries laid foundation to classical mechanics, physics, and also for a deep understanding of nature. Next is about, okay, that you all know, one of his major contribution is the formulation of law of motion, which acts as the basic principle of classical mechanics. So the what is the first law? It makes use of the concept of inertia, that is, every body continues in its state of rest or state of uniform motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. Now, what is second law? Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the unbalanced force taking place, which is represented as F is equal to dp by dt, which is nothing but mass into acceleration ma. Then third law, to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So these are the three laws of motion formulated by Sir Isaac Newton. Then he formulated universal law of gravitation, which is another important concept. That is, by 17th century, astronomers have realized that Earth was only a planet, and they all supported heliocentric theory, that is, Sun was the center of solar system and Earth as a planet orbits around it. Okay, so Newton also supported this theory, and he explained the three planetary laws of motion proposed by another scientist named Kepler. Okay, now Kepler's three laws of motion, Kepler has formulated three laws of planetary motion. The first law is that planet move around the sun on elliptical orbits. Now, second law states that a planet sweep out equal rates in equal intervals of time. Third law states that square of orbital period is proportional to cube of semi-major axis of the ellipse. Okay, that is, ellipse means the elliptical orbit around which the celestial bodies orbit. Okay, now these are the three planetary laws proposed by Kepler, and um, Newton, he formulated some concepts that supports these three laws of Kepler's planetary laws. Okay, that is, Newton, he convinced that the planets also must obey the same physical laws observed on Earth. Okay, for that he understood that for the existence of these laws, that is, for the existence of these planetary laws, there must be some sort of force that acts on a planet or any other celestial body. Okay, in the absence of force, a moving body will continue in a straight line forever. So he understood that in order to or for the existence of these three laws of planetary motion proposed by Kepler, definitely there should be a force acting on the celestial bodies, and he found that that force is nothing but it is gravity, the very same force that causes an apple to fall to the ground on Earth. So he put forward the concept of gravity, or he developed the mathematical formulation of gravity that is applicable to the motion of a falling apple as well as that of the planets. Using this concept of gravity, Newton formulated the famous universal law of gravitation, which states that every particle in the universe attract every other particle with a force F, which is directly proportional to the product of masses. Here in the formula it is written as mm, and inversely proportional to square of distance between them, that is r. So F is equal to gmm by r square. F is the gravitational force, m is the mass of the objects, and r is the distance between the objects. Okay, so when applied to the motion of a planet around the sun, this theory explained all the three planetary laws of Kepler. Now let us discuss about contributions of Newton in the field of optics. Newton discovered that white light is composed of 7 colors of different wavelength, and he observed that a prism refracts different colors by different angles. That is, when white light is passed through a prism, it will split into 7 distinct colors, namely vibgir, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And that phenomenon is called by the name dispersion. Okay, so he explained that white light contains 7 distinct colors of different wavelength, and he called that the color spectrum. And uh, another thing that he noticed is that the prism itself transformed white light into these colors, but when Newton refracted these same colors back into another prism, that is, he refracted these colors back onto the same prism or another prism. Okay, the same colors were refracted back onto another prism, and he formed he observed that these colors formed into white light, proving that white light was actually a combination of all colors of rainbow. He concluded that color is just an intrinsic property of light. He observed that color is a result of objects interacting with already colored light rather than objects generating color themselves. So it is not the prism that is generating color, it is actually the property of light that splits it into different colors. Then another thing that he observed is that lens of any refracting telescope will suffer from dispersion of light into colors, which is called chromatic aberration. Then he constructed a telescope using reflective mirrors instead of lenses, just to bypass or just to overcome this problem. And he was also able to produce this first reflecting telescope, which we call today by the name Newtonian Telescope. He has published a book named Optics, in which he has explained corpuscular theory of light. He considered that light is made up of corpuscles, and it was at that time Huygens proposed the wave theory of light, and based on that, various phenomena of light like interference and diffraction were proposed. And Einstein introduced the concept of photon, that is, light is composed of energy corpuscles called photons. Uh, then in that book he has mentioned about the prism as a beam expander, and he has talked about multiple prism arrays and all. He has explained various phenomena related to light in his book named Optics. And he observed ring pattern due to varying thickness of air film when a planar convex lens with its convex surface is placed on a plane glass sheet. That is, he has placed a planar convex lens with its convex surface in contact with the glass plate, and so in between these two plates an air film was formed, and because of the variation in thickness of the air film thus formed, he has observed an interference ring pattern, and he called it by the name Newton's rings. Another law is the law of cooling, which states that rate of cooling in a body is directly proportional to temperature difference between the body and the surroundings. It is represented as dt by dt is equal to minus k T minus Ts, where T is the temperature of body, K is a constant, and Ts is the temperature of the surroundings. Next, he has discussed about the surface of Earth. He said that Earth is an oblate spheroid, Then he has made a lot of contributions in the field of mathematics, especially in the area of calculus. Then power series, then binomial theorems, then non-integer exponents, root of a function, then about cubic plane curves, etc. So that's all about Isaac Newton. So discuss when you write, discuss about his contributions in mathematics, shape of earth, law of cooling, then his contributions to the field of optics, universal law of gravitation, and the three laws of motion. Okay, so we have discussed about two scientists today. So as this is a very easy topic, I will be uploading two videos per week. Okay, till now I was uploading only one video per week. Now for the time being, as this is very easy for you to learn, I will just upload two videos per week. Okay, so just keep in mind, you just prepare a note of yourself comprising all the points, and you should write it in a detailed way, because the question is always asked as an essay question, and it is a very sure question. You will be asked to write the early life and contributions of any of the scientists. Sometimes I will specify the name, sometimes I will just ask you to write about 6 or 7 scientists, and that will be a sure essay question from this module. Okay, so please read through it. Thank you.